Esther Chapter 8. On that day, King Ahasuerus granted Queen Esther the house of Haman, the enemy of the Jews. Mordecai came before the king, as Esther had informed him. The king removed his signet ring, which he had taken from Haman, and gave it to Mordecai. Esther then appointed Mordecai over Haman's house. Esther once again spoke before the king, falling at his feet and pleading with tears to revoke the evil plan devised by Haman the Agagite against the Jews. The king extended the golden scepter toward Esther, and she stood before him, saying, "If it pleases the king, if I have found favor in his sight, and if the matter seems right to the king, and I am pleasing in his eyes, let it be written to reverse the letters that Haman, the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, wrote to destroy the Jews in all the king's provinces." Esther continued, "For how can I bear to see the evil that will come upon my people? Or how can I endure to witness the destruction of my kindred?" King Ahasuerus responded to Queen Esther and Mordecai the Jew, "I have given Esther the house of Haman, and they have hanged him on the gallows because he sought to harm the Jews. You may also write for the Jews in the king's name and seal it with the king's ring, for a document written in the king's name and sealed with the king's ring cannot be revoked." So, on the 23rd day of the 3rd month, known as Sivan, the king's scribes were summoned, and Mordecai's instructions were written to the Jews, the officials, the governors, and rulers of the 127 provinces from India to Ethiopia. Each province received the decree in its own script and language, including the Jews in their own script and language. Mordecai wrote in King Ahasuerus' name, sealed the decree with the king's ring, and sent it by messengers on horseback, riding on royal horses, mules, camels, and young dromedaries. This decree allowed the Jews in every city to gather and defend themselves, destroying any force or province that would attack them, including women and children, and to take their possessions as plunder. This was to occur on a single day in all of King Ahasuerus' provinces, the 13th day of the 12th month, Adar. The decree was made public in every province, giving the Jews the opportunity to stand up against their enemies. Messengers, urged by the king's command, swiftly delivered the decree from the royal palace in Shushan. Mordecai left the king's presence in royal attire, wearing blue and white with a great crown of gold and a garment of fine linen and purple. The city of Shushan rejoiced and was filled with gladness. Throughout every province and city, wherever the king's decree was proclaimed, the Jews celebrated with joy and gladness. They had a feast and a day of great rejoicing, and many people from the surrounding lands became Jews, for fear of the Jews had fallen upon them.